It's in your pocket, in your drawer, right next to your phone. Maybe 2, maybe 5. You never know where they came from, but they're always there. The ballpoint pen. So obvious it's invisible. And yet, behind that thin stick, with a tiny ball on the end, lies a story full of desperate inventors, military secrets, and one man who changed the world and made almost nothing from it. This is the story of the ballpoint pen. Let's start with a man nobody remembers. The year is 1888. John Loud, an American leather tanner from Massachusetts, has a problem. He needs to mark leather, thick, rough, uneven, and a regular fountain pen just won't do. So Loud builds something different, a metal ball dipped in ink that rolls across any surface. He patents the invention, and then does absolutely nothing with it. For 50 years, that idea sat forgotten in a patent office drawer. The real story begins in Budapest, somewhere in the mid-1930s. Laszlo Biro is a journalist. He sits in his newsroom, furious at his fountain pen. Ink blots, smeared work, stains on his sleeves. He watches the printing press and notices something important. The printer's ink dries almost instantly. Thick, fast drying. Why hasn't anyone thought to use it in a pen? Together with his brother Georgi, a chemist, he starts experimenting. New ink, new mechanism, a ball. The year is 1938. Biro presents his prototype at an exhibition in Budapest. By pure chance, the president of Argentina, Agustin Justo, stumbles upon it. He's thrilled. He says it plainly. Come to Argentina. Finish your invention there. Soon after, Europe goes up in flames. Biro is Jewish, so that one offer is all he has left. In 1941, he boards a ship and sails to Buenos Aires. It's a decision that saves his life, but the ballpoint pen was destined to reach the world by a different route. During World War II, the British Royal Air Force has a serious problem. Pilots and navigators at high altitude can't use fountain pens. The changing pressure makes ink leak everywhere. Documents, maps, reports, everything smears. British intelligence learns about Biro's work. They buy the license. In 1944, the Royal Air Force begins equipping its navigators with ballpoint pens. The ballpoint reaches the military before it ever reaches the shops. And then comes the frenzy. October 1945. New York City. Gimbel's department store in Manhattan announces the sale of something revolutionary. A ballpoint pen for just $12.50. A line forms outside the doors. 10,000 units sold on the first day. People are fascinated. You can write underwater. You can write upside down. It's not a pen. It's practically magic. But the magic quickly starts to fall apart. The first ballpoint pens leak. They blot. They write for a while, then simply refuse to work. Customers come back to stores demanding refunds. The reputation of this new invention plummets. Problem is fundamental. The ball. It has to be perfect. Absolutely round. Wife tolerances in the thousandths of a millimeter. No factory at the time could achieve that consistently. The ballpoint pen was a brilliant idea trapped by imperfect manufacturing. Enter Marcel Biche, a French industrialist, a man obsessed with precision. In 1949, he buys the patent from Biro for almost nothing. He moves into his Paris workshop and spends 2 years taking the ballpoint pen apart piece by piece. Biche applies watchmaking techniques. The ball must be perfect. The ink must have exactly the right viscosity at every temperature. The casing must be sturdy enough to survive and cheap enough to throw away. In 1950, the Bic Cristal appears. A transparent casing so you can see how much ink is left. A tungsten carbide ball, polished with watchmaker precision. Price, 10 cents. The Bic Cristal becomes the best-selling pen in history. To this day, over 100 billion have been produced. That's roughly one pen for every human being who has ever lived on Earth, several times over. And what about Biro? He sold his patent for a modest sum, long before the real boom. He lived in Buenos Aires, far from the glory end, the millions that others made from his idea. He died in 1985, known mainly in Argentina. There, to this day, the ballpoint pen is called a birome. And on the 29th of September, on his birthday, Argentina celebrates Inventors' Day. So next time you reach for a pen, that cheap, disposable one forgotten somewhere on your desk, remember, you're holding 100 years of trial and the story of a man who changed the world. The story behind.